Stuck with us. Delighted to have you all here, especially in anticipation of all the busyness coming up in the next couple of weeks. I know it gets a little crazy this time of year, and as Old Dennis said, the current newsletter on stress is probably would have been more appropriate a month ago, so people could anticipate a little more. Tonight's topic is on personal growth, and it's something that you all who know me know that I am a personal development junkie, have been for years. And I'm always reminded of this old story about two lumberjacks. And they both came to work same time every day. They both left at the same time every day. But one of the guys disappeared for an hour in the middle of the day every day, but they always managed to cut the same amount of wood. And this went on for several days. And finally, the lumberjack that never took a break looked at his friend and he said, I don't get it. You leave for an hour every day, and yet we chop the same amount of wood every single day. How do you do that? What do you do on that hour? He said, well, I go home and I sharpen my axe. And the reality is that we need to be sharpening our axe all the time. At the rate the world changes around us, the things that we have to anticipate and keep up with. I mean, the obvious stuff is things like technology, but the reality is our economy changes, the industry changes, competition changes. And if we're not sharpening our axes on a fairly consistent basis, we're going to start dragging behind. There's no doubt about it. And we're going to talk about habits tonight, but I'm reminded of a story our pastor shared a few weeks ago, and also in a book he wrote recently. And he was talking to one of his staff members, and it just came out in the conversation that she was running a marathon that following weekend. And he went, wow, I didn't know you were a runner or you ran marathons. He said, you must be really good. And she said, well, no, not really. I'm not a very good runner. I'm not very fast, but I'm really good at not quitting. And that's pretty much what it takes. And Terry knows that probably better than anybody. How many of you run, Terry?
19.
19 marathons.
Amazing.
I mean, that's extraordinary to me. I tried to run one marathon, got to 22 miles, and spent 6 weeks on crutches and said, that's it, doing that again. So, so that's an extraordinary achievement. It really is. But one of the things that I came across, I'm going to play a 7 minutes of a video for you tonight. And I think you'll get some good value from it. But after the video, there are a couple of points I want to discuss with you guys. So if you'll just hang in there a second while I pull this up.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rob Dial Jr. here. I want you to imagine this just 7 days from now. You wake up feeling clear, confident, and in control again, not because your life magically changed overnight, but because you did. The truth is, massive transformation doesn't always take months or years. It can start in a single week if you commit to the right habits. Today, I'm going to share with you the 5 habits that completely shifted my mindset, my energy, and my direction in just 7 days. And if you apply them, I promise you won't recognize the person you'll be next week. Most people underestimate just how powerful the first hour of their day really is. They roll out of bed, grab their phone, check their notifications, scroll through social media, and before they've even brushed their teeth, their brain is already reacting to the world. They're comparing, they're consuming, they're absorbing everyone else's energy but their own. And what happens when you start your day in reaction? You spend the rest of it chasing calm. You spend it trying to get back to balance. But if you start your day with intention, you don't chase peace, you create it. When I made this shift, I realized that my mornings weren't the problem. My A mindset in the morning was. I used to wake up already overwhelmed, thinking about what needed to be done, who I needed to respond to, what problems I had to solve. And that kind of energy, it's like running a race before you've even tied your shoes. The game changed when I decided to take control of the first 10 minutes of my day. Just 10 minutes. No phone, no noise, no chaos, just me, my breath, and my thoughts. Here's what happens in those first moments when you wake up. Your mind is still quiet, still open, still honest. That's the best time to decide who you're going to be today. So instead of reaching for my phone, I started reaching for my notebook. I'd write 1 or 2 sentences, nothing fancy, just something simple like, today I lead with peace, or today I choose focus over fear. You'd be amazed how different your day feels when you give it direction before it gives you distraction. Then I'd take a few deep breaths. Slow, intentional, grounding. It's funny how something as simple as breathing, something we do every second without thinking, can completely shift our internal state when we do think about it. I'd visualize my day, not just what I had to do, but how I want to feel while doing it. Calm during the chaos, confident in conversations, grateful even for the challenges. Because when you visualize the energy you want to carry, your brain starts looking for evidence to match it. This is what I mean when I say start your mornings with intent, not distraction. It's not about some perfect morning routine. It's about choosing to lead yourself before the world tries to lead you. You don't need an hour of meditation or a fancy journal setup. You just need to make a decision. The first few minutes of your day belong to you, not your boss, not your phone, not your problems. You. Here's the truth. How you start your morning isn't just about your schedule. It's about your identity. It's a statement. When you wake up and take control of your focus, you're telling yourself, I'm the kind of person who leads, not follows, who creates, not reacts, who chooses peace over panic. And over time, that becomes who you are, not just in the morning, but throughout your entire life. And yeah, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. Your brain is wired for patterns, and right now it's used to stimulation, the notifications, the dopamine hits, the rush. So when you remove that and replace it with silence, it's going to resist, it's going to whisper. Just check your messages real quick. But remember this, your phone gives you other people's priorities. Your mind gives you your own. Which one do you want to live by? Every single day, you're training your focus. And whatever you train in the morning, you carry into the day. If you train distraction, you'll stay distracted. But if you train intention, you'll move through the world with clarity and calm. That's the real power of owning your morning. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you become through doing it. And when you do this for just 1 week, you'll start to notice small shifts. You'll feel more grounded when things go wrong. You'll respond instead of react. You'll find yourself being more present with people, more patient with yourself, and more powerful in your decisions. That's the ripple effect of one intentional habit. It doesn't just change your mornings, it changes your mindset, your mood, and ultimately your life. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't start with the big things you do. It starts with how you show up when no one's watching. And your morning, that's your quiet moment of truth. That's where your day, your week, and your transformation truly begin. You ever notice how easy it is to make promises to other people and how hard it is to keep the ones you make to yourself? You'll tell a friend you'll meet them at 8 a.m. and you show up. You tell your boss you'll finish a project and you get it done. But when you tell yourself you'll wake up early or eat better or finally start that goal you've been talking about, somehow the excuses come faster than the action. And that's not because you're lazy. It's because you've trained yourself to break your own trust. I learned something powerful about self-discipline. It's not about willpower. It's about integrity. Every time you say you're going to do something and actually do it, you're building a reputation with yourself. Think about that. Every action, every follow-through, every tiny promise, it's all evidence your brain collects. So when you keep your word, your mind starts to believe you. It starts to trust you. And that's where confidence comes from. Not from success, not from praise, but from self-trust. You don't need to do 100 things right to build that trust back. You just need to start with one. One promise? Maybe it's, I'll drink a full glass of water when I wake up, or I'll stretch for 5 minutes, or I'll take a 5-minute walk without my phone. Keep it small, keep it simple, but keep it sacred. Because when you do that one thing consistently, you prove to yourself that your word matters. Most people fail not because their goals are too big, but because their promises are too vague. They say things like, I'm going to get healthy, or I'm going to work harder. But that's not a promise. That's a wish. A promise has weight. A promise has accountability. And when you treat your promises to yourself like non-negotiables, that's when you start to feel unstoppable. There was a time when I kept waiting for motivation to strike. I thought I needed to feel ready before I could act. But here's what I discovered. Motivation doesn't build consistency. Consistency builds motivation. You don't wait to feel confident before you take action. You take action so you become confident. The hardest part isn't doing the work. It's doing it when no one's watching, when you don't feel like it, when you'd rather quit. That's the moment that separates the old you from the new you. When I started practicing this, I realized how many tiny moments I was giving away. Every time I said, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll start Monday, I was teaching my mind that my words didn't matter, and if your own mind doesn't believe you, how can you expect to feel capable, worthy, or powerful? That was the wake-up call. I didn't need to rebuild my life, I just needed to rebuild my credibility with myself. So I began with small wins. I told myself, I'm going to make my bed, and I did. I'm going to write down one thing I'm grateful for. Don't. It wasn't about perfection, it was about proof. Every kept promise became a brick, and slowly I built something solid, self-respect. Because when you start stacking small wins, your brain begins to associate effort with pride instead of exhaustion. You start to feel a quiet strength growing inside you, a kind of unshakable belief that you can rely on yourself. And here's what's wild. When you build that kind of trust internally, it changes how you show up externally. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop seeking validation. Why? Because you already know you'll do what you say you will. That's power. Not loud, not boastful, just grounded, steady, and real. But you have to remember, this is a daily practice. You're going to mess up. You're going to miss a day, break a streak, fall short. And that's okay. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to stay honest. When you slip, don't run from it. Acknowledge it, reset, promise again, and this time keep it. Every failure is just a test of whether you'll choose to rebuild trust or break it further. At the end of the day, your life doesn't change when you set goals. It changes when you keep promises. Because the moment you start honoring your own word, everything else follows. Your habits, your relationships, your mindset, they all begin to align. You stop needing external motivation because you've built something much stronger internal reliability. So the next time you make a promise to yourself, don't treat it like a suggestion. Treat it like a contract. Write it in your mind, seal it with your action, and let every day you follow through be another reminder that you are becoming the kind of person who does what they say they will do. That's how you build confidence. That's how you build character. And that's how you change your life, one promise at a time. One of the biggest lessons
One of the things he said that really struck me is when we make a commitment to somebody else, we keep it. But when we make a commitment to ourselves, we don't. I think about when we were brand new in the business, we had not even yet qualified for a Shackley bonus car. We had two Volkswagens and a motorcycle. It took two Volkswagens to keep one running. And it was the middle of winter. Aldana had scheduled an appointment at what used to be Cinderella City down in Englewood at a Village Inn.
Oh,
And was a bitter winter day, but the roads were clear. So I was riding the motorcycle instead of hitchhiking because Aldana needed the car to get to this appointment. And when she went out, the car wouldn't start. She calls me at work and she says, I've got this appointment. I can't get the car started. You need to come get me. So I drove back home. It's about 10 degrees out. We bundle her up like the Pillsbury Doughboy. And we drive up to the Village
was funny.
Inn. And I mean, it was bitter cold. And we drive up to the Village Inn. She stands there in the parking lot, strips all of this clothing off, and walks into that appointment as though nothing had happened. We're really good at keeping commitments to other people, but how often do we slip up on ourselves? And I think the points he made tonight about that were really, really excellent because one of the areas, you'll hear Tony Robbins talk about it. I've talked about it in a lot of different ways in goal seminars, but our actions precede our feelings. If we wait around to get motivated, guess what? It's not going to happen. But if we've got some habits, some actions that we do consistently that we can depend on ourselves to do, then we start to build. Yeah, in fact, I hate to use that word self-esteem because it's so overused in our society today.
We feel
But-
better about ourselves.
Well, you feel better about yourself. And the only way to build self-esteem is to act in a way that's worthy of esteem. And that's really the bottom line. But one of the things I've often thought about is there a habit, a single habit, that if you knew you were to adopt that and get better at that and be more consistent than that, would dramatically change your business? Is it getting more consistent about follow-up? Is it getting more consistent about putting yourself in places where you're going to meet people? What is it about your
Sponsoring.
business that you know you need to work on a little bit? What habit do you need to change? But having said all that, let me just open it up and let you guys comment on any thoughts or insights you took away from that.
Well, it was just a trigger for what we've already known. But it was, it was good to hear it in another perspective. Because I just wrote a page of notes.
Yeah, me too.
And I know that it's things we already learned and heard, but still saying it differently triggers it for me that, oh, I can do it this way. So thank you. That was good.
I think it's good to have those reminders to hear, because I think we can get kind of complacent, and it's good to constantly hear things like that.
I keep waiting for Lorraine to speak.
I have to unmute. For me, I took a lot of notes as well, but probably for me, the biggest thing is keeping promises to myself. Not good at that. I'll keep promises to everybody else, but not me.
But I think since you started those 5 steps and listing them, you have started keeping promises to yourself.
True, true.
You want to share your 5 steps?
Sure. So my five things that I told myself I would do each day is to send an email to someone, to make a phone call, pick up the phone and call somebody, to do some kind of a post. And these don't necessarily have to be business, but it all turns into business. Does that make sense? To write a personal note to somebody and to extend an opportunity invitation. And that definitely is a Shackley thing. So,
I remember when we had that daily tracker, and I need to go back to that myself because I would do it for a while, and I definitely noticed that it was easier to keep those promises, those things I would say to myself, I'm going to do, I'm going to send out 2 emails or follow up with 2 or 3 customers, and then I wouldn't do it. But if it was on paper, if I had that daily tracker in front of me, um, it filled up because I had it and I need to get that out. Does anybody else still use that?
I I just make my own list.
Yeah.
Like Lorraine said, those are the 5 things that she committed to herself to get done. And
Mhm.
in my case, my 5 things are always business related because I've set a goal that we're going to increase our business and we're going to increase my, I don't know, for you guys, some of the volume dropped for me. And of course, getting ready for everything could be the excuse, but it's not an excuse. We lost some people who went to heaven that used to do really great volume for us. And I need to replace the volume and find more people that I can help and find a way to make that happen because it's a little bit more challenging for me since I can't drive. So my chauffeur also has appointments. So I have to work around the schedule. But so for me right now, it has to be really focused into business. That's not to say that I don't talk to my daughter every day, or I can't wait to see a video of Brooklyn Rose, or I take time for my family,
We're spending days shopping for Christmas.
or spend a day shopping for Christmas. But something in those 5 has to happen every day. And in the old days before cell phones, I used to walk around with a bunch of quarters in my purse and stop and make a phone call in between doing other things or meeting other people. So it's just, for me, is if I've set a certain goal, it's a decision
Mm.
to keep a promise to myself.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really so easy now with all that Shackley share app that we can use on our phone. I was going through there the other day and saw some things that I didn't know was there. I mean, I'm aware of things on there, but not everything because there is so much stuff that Shackley does to make our business so much easier. So,
Mhm.
I mean, just riding down the road, when I get to where I'm going, sometimes I've sat for 5 minutes before I go into where I'm supposed to be and maybe sent somebody an email or a link to something. So it's kind of like really no excuse not to do those 5 things, really, you know.
I think one of the more important things he shared was taking ownership of the first few minutes of every day.
Every day.
Because
Mm-hmm.
if we get up, like you said, with intention, I know for Aldana and I, the first 45 minutes of our day is our prayer time. And it's really important to us. It sets the tone for the day. We have a very long prayer list. Most of you are on it for one reason or another. but it really changes the way we approach the day as opposed to years past when we didn't start our day that way. But whether it's your prayer time, whether it's just time taken out to write in your gratitude journal or do some affirmations or visualize who you want to be that day or what you want your day to look like, starting it with that kind of intention instead of just reacting to whatever latest crisis is on your cell phone can make a huge difference in the way your day goes.
Amen to that.
And initially it was difficult for me because I used to jump out of bed and way before emails, I was thinking about who I needed to contact, who I needed to follow up, who I needed to help with something. And now to take that 45 minutes, it really, really makes a huge difference. And ask God to give us the wisdom. I can use
Both of
any
us.
bit of wisdom I can get. Well,
Well, any other thoughts before we call it a night?
Good.
Shirley.
Oh, I didn't hear what he said. It's amazing how he nailed so many of us. It's just amazing. But, you know, years ago, we used to have the saying, off with the TV and up your PV, which meant, you know, pay attention and don't turn it on. And so now we may not turn on the TV. Oh, I've never turned on the TV first thing in the morning. But then there are these little devices called iPads and phones. And maybe I'm speaking for myself. We think, well, this is different. This is just a little bit different. This is little, so it doesn't count as much as having that big old TV on. But anyway, I thought this was very, very good. And
Right,
starting with
so
intention, it's just a super saying and way to go. And
Yeah.
I'll start tomorrow. I promise.
That is so real, Shirley, the way you described that and how we look at those little screens.
Mhm.
It doesn't
You know,
really matter.
yesterday in our pastor's sermon, one of the things he mentioned was one of the first things people do when they wake up is look at their cell phone. Like 90%, some poll was taken, and
Before they're even out of
90%,
bed.
yeah, before they're even out of bed, they look at their cell phones.
Mhm.
So even in a sermon, it gets mentioned.
oh yeah, we had one of those sermons by a very young pastor, and it was hysterical. And he had people raise their hands on how much time they thought that they spent. I mean, Doug had such a great sense of humor doing this. So, but yeah, it was a very powerful sermon. And I remember one of the young ladies that had been in our marriage group saying that it really hit home for her.
Mhm.
All right. Well, hopefully tomorrow morning you all start your day with intention.
Yes.
Oh, quick question. Yes, intention in the morning, but they said something on Mission Possible this morning about a call tomorrow. I don't have that on my phone. Did I miss something?
It's for
What's-
executive coordinators and above. So Shirley,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wouldn't be on that. But the training that they had in the Modere, I
Mhm.
couldn't watch it, but I do want to watch it because I have the that trim that
It's
I want to
coming.
send a customer, but the replay of it.
It's coming.
They're-
They said
they're
today
gonna-
that they would put it together.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're
If
gonna
you
put
see
it up-
Shirley, send
Going
it to me
through
if I
legal.
missed
It
it.
has to go through legal and then it'll be
Right.
posted on Shackley TV.
TV.
Hopefully.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All
Good.
righty, everybody. Making an awesome week.
Great.
Good night.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Good to see you present,
You
Rick.
guys. Night,
Appreciate it.
Joanne.
Good
Bye.
night. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
great.
Bye.